All those insights came from this one meditation. That meditation itself, the technique and the method is sort of the accumulation of all of the meditations that I've been doing the last 5 years into one singularity. And when you're marinating in that state, it feels like the cosmic BBC is fucking the cosmic vagina, except the cosmic BBC is infinity. And the cosmic vagina is the size smaller than an atom. You go into this strange loop that is reality. I'm collapsing my awareness, my attention, into this tiny little point that doesn't even exist because it's literally smaller than an atom, quote unquote. But at the same time, I'm expanding my mind, my awareness, my quote unquote peripheral awareness in the opposite direction to fill all of infinite space. So I'm doing the two simultaneously, contraction and expansion. The two are actually the same thing. If you can sustain that for like 2 hours, you will reach nirvana.
Nirvana or nibbana means to blow out or turn the lights off. All meditation techniques are just tools to train the mind to reach its absolute limit, and it takes a quantum leap into the abyss, and you die before you die.
If physicists are right, and inside the atom is just infinite space, that space is the same space as the rest of the universe because infinity knows no size. Through that experience, I sort of linked up all the questions that I have in the past, all the major insights of all the religions. And if you wonder, why should I care about this? Why should I do this enlightenment work? Who am I? What am I? What is existence? What the fuck is this shit? What am I doing here with my life? Because everything that you've ever desired and want to attain in your entire life. Trying to get faster cars, a bigger house, more money, like more pussies, bigger muscles, but we're sort of just manifesting that natural inclination to merge with infinity. Here are some contemplative fitness exercises that you can perform to access this state. One of them is imagining the whole universe, infinite number of multiverses, be contained into a proton without changing the size to either of them. The other one is to collapse the entire time frame of the universe from the Big Bang to the Big Crunch into the nanosecond of the now. The past and the future don't really exist. Past and the future are only concepts of the mind that is experienced in the now. The present moment is the non-moment where the past and the future collapse into each other. The present moment doesn't actually exist, while simultaneously and paradoxically it's the only thing that you can experience. If you try to find the single nanosecond slice of the now, you can't find it. Just like you can't find the sense of self, even though the self is everywhere. You see, like spiritual cons talk about how like infinite awareness, consciousness is nowhere and everywhere. And same thing as how Eckhart Tolle said the power of now is eternal. So the power of now and infinite awareness, they're all describing the same natty reality, which is being, which is you. One is you approach it from the spatial side of the equation, the other from the temporal side of the equation, but they're two sides of the same coin. Einstein said that in general theory of relativity, space and time are two sides of the same coin. It's a unified fabric that he calls space-time. So I've been training a lot in just non-dual awareness meditation or Dzogchen, where you relax the core of your mind. Whatever your mind is grasping onto, you just relax it until it just fills up the whole infinite space. On the other side of the extreme of that practice, which is Vipassana, where you just sort of focus on a single sensation. You put your awareness on a very tiny specific sensation and you just scan it until you break it down further and further until all sensations go back to the source of emptiness. And that sensation can be sight, sound, thoughts, body sensations, again, emotions, pretty much the entire sensory reality. Your entire field of experience can be Vipassanalized by breaking sensations down to its microscopic component until it dissolves into nothingness. And that nothingness is the same thing as that awareness.
The same unified field.
One is you drilling from top to bottom, the other one you drilling from bottom to top. And I've used the analogy for physical fitness and how Dzogchen practice, or pure awareness practice, the non-dual awareness practice, that really takes a kind of a acrobatic of the mind. But that process is a bit like plyometrics, speed training, reactivity training. So the pure Vipassana practice, concentration practice, that is sort of like max effort, absolute strength training. And you combine the two, you get power. Power is awakening. And this awake, natural, natty state awareness is the Buddha mind, or Christ consciousness, or Brahman.
Yes.
I really have to kiss on it.
Yeah, like lick it.
Lick it and kiss it.
Let me give you some examples from popular teachers that you might have read. Both Xi Jinping and Chuladosa, the former wrote The Science of Enlightenment, the latter wrote The Mind Illuminated. Chuladosa said that you have to focus both on the object of meditation, which he calls attention, and peripheral awareness. You have to not just focus on the object of meditation, you have to pay attention and be aware of whatever is going on in the background. And it's the balance of the two that gives rise to perfect mindfulness. So if you look at consciousness as a full spectrum of experience, paying too much attention on one by default takes away the power of the other one. So both sides of the extreme have to be balanced. And Xi Jinping always talks about the practice of contraction and expansion. So if you combine those two teachings, which is really the same thing, and push it to the max effort extreme, you get the kind of meditation that I was talking about in the beginning of this video.
If you only do non-dual awareness training, where you just relax the mind until it fills up the whole infinite space, goes back to the source, the objects within that space could still seem solidified, especially the thoughts that you identify as being you.
If the meditator is just a cluster of sensations, then the self or the ego or any thoughts are just sensations that cannot be aware of itself, just as a sensation of the feet cannot be aware of the sensation of the head. A thought cannot be aware of another thought. Therefore, only awareness is aware of itself. So no need to kill what was never alive in the first place.
A lot of people go to Vipassana retreats for 20 years, but they haven't awakened. Why? Because they haven't had the other side of the training, or they haven't deconstructed the meditator into just another cluster of sensations that are floating without a center amongst infinite number of other sensations and objects within this infinite field of awareness. So you need both.
Your existence is not inside the head. Thoughts are not inside the head. It's appearing in the exact same place or space as the world and your deepest desire. After you have deconstructed space and time as fake nights.
Rising and passing is also another way to describe expansion and contraction. Whatever is arising passes and vanishes into awareness or into the void. Whatever is arising is simultaneously passing and vice versa. Just like when you zoom into a thought or a sensation or emotion, just like when you zoom into a film, you get individual frames. That each frame is completely still, it's not moving. So rising and passing at the deepest level is everything's frozen.
Emptiness and form are identical. It's a manifestation of emptiness to form that gives rise to the universe. Non-duality includes all dualities. The absolute includes all relatives. The Big Bang is contained in the Big Crunch. And all those insights also coincide with the insight of dependent origination. A lot of people just talk about no self and emptiness, but they never talk about dependent origination. And to sum up, dependent origination means that everything in the universe, they co-arise and are co-created within each other. This video is only made possible by an observer.
The way that I perceive humans, I don't see them as individuals anymore. Every individual is just a process, codependent, co-arising, co-interactive, unfolding with everything else. That's also undergoing the same butterfly effect. Red pit and 5 bucks, that's make an omelet, you need to break some eggs. But to break an egg, you need to have Big Bang first. Now, one particle pivoting this line. Every person, every event is the incarnation of the entire universe from the time to the time. It's all collapsing in the horizon. What is an egg? Is it the texture of the shell with gold or the egg whites? The proteins called white. It takes an observer to make all those different connections into a coherent whole with the concept and the materiality of a quote egg. Just like the word in the dictionary is only definable through the means and definition of the words. One of those words is utterly empty in and of itself. See, that's another way to perceive emptiness.
Somethingness is dependent, originating from nothingness. Actually, something doesn't come from nothing, it is nothing. Future, past, and present are all codependently arising through each other.
Okay, let's use a diagram to illustrate this. So at first, you are a person, a mitsu, and then your sense of identity is this little person inside the head of the mitsu, and you're just walking around the world. And then you perceive yourself as this avatar that's been separate from the world that you're interacting with. And then, as you unfold, you start to flip yourself inside out, and your sense of self and your identity becomes like this bubble of awareness that's encapsulating the character or the Mitsu. But then as you awaken even more, you expand that bubble, that character becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. And then your sense of identification becomes larger and larger as the circle of the bubble keeps on expanding. And then as you continue to peel off your onions like a snake shedding its own skin, which the process hurts like hell. It literally feels like you're burning yourself alive. And that's where the dark night of the soul comes from. You're shredding away every single layer that you thought to be you away, dissolving them. And as you continue this process on and on and on, over and over again, awareness expands and extends infinitely towards all directions. But then there's still a little speck there in the center, sort of like a nucleus of an atom. And you get the electrons and everything else is circling around that nucleus. But you have to dissolve every single speck of solidity that separates you from the rest of the universe. Eventually, you go through a threshold where when you reach singularity. If you were to put the Frank Tian character from like just a year ago to this quote-unquote Mitsu here, and then I'm gonna be like, oh, this is your most natural state, bro. And then you'll be like, what, am I tripping on 5-MeO DMT? Am I having a breakthrough?